Morgan, I don't know if this is rude,
Mm-hmm.
but you mentioned baby. And part of me is like, I like the idea of placing bets on my friends, like with
Oh,
the other friends in the group, just
uh-huh.
quietly,
Right.
just to be like, because we'd influence you if we let you in on this. But it'd be fun to just sit down with like Cora and Claire and be like, all right, we're going to place bets. We're going to put some real money on this.
Mm-hmm.
When are Morgan and Sage going to have a baby? And then we just all place our bets. And then we just sit there quietly and wait,
And
you
you're
know?
you're gonna be waiting for a little bit, a little while,
I don't
I
know.
think. You don't
You're not getting out of this unkid. You're not
un
getting out of this kidless before
unkidless?
30? 30.
Yeah,
Before 30.
I think that's fair.
What's stopping you? Aside from everything that's stopping you.
I was gonna say, well, we just moved, and just I would like to enjoy my spouse before having another
Hmm.
human to be responsible for, you know? Because right now, responsibilities, like, we have them, but compared to a
Responsibilities? We
child,
got them. Yeah.
it's kind of minimal, you know?
Mm-hmm. I'd sometimes talk about this with people at work, and they're often surprised by my readiness to have children. But it's also because I've been with Claire for all what will be half of my life before soon. I
Before
mean,
soon.
in 5 years, it will be half of my life.
Oh, that's so
Um,
weird to think about.
it is weird to think about, but I I was kind of saying to these people that I would already have kids if the world financial situations were different. Like,
Yeah.
I'm ready. I just live in an apartment,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I get it. Um, my thing, it's like some people, it's like you ask them, when do you want to have kids? Well, and I think it's getting to be like less and less of a common thing of people wanting to have kids, probably due to financial stresses,
Yeah.
world stresses. Like, I get it. For me, I have always wanted to be a mom. Like, as far back as I can remember, I've always been like down to be a mom and to like have a kid and like love it with like my whole heart, everything like that. I'm down for that. But it's also, I've tried to be, it's like a responsibility thing, like making sure, like, are we ready emotionally, mentally ready for that responsibility?
Mm,
And I don't think you can ever be 100% ready just because there's so much
nah.
unexpectedness that comes with
The
it.
third
But
kid will always have a better time.
the what?
The
The
third
third
kid will
kid?
always have a better time.
Well, we are aiming for two. Um, well, we're aiming for one, and then if one is like, the whole pregnancy, giving birth thing is absolutely dreadful. Well, I don't know.
I don't know what we come down on. It's just a financial thing. Like, in one of the podcasts I listened to, they all have kids, and one of them said that they would have had more kids. Like, they had 3, and they're like, we would have had more kids if we could afford it. It's just like kids are so expensive,
Yeah,
and you're just a human making middle class amounts of money.
right,
You can't necessarily afford a giant family.
right. And in terms of like cost of living, the middle class money is being worth less and less. Like it's harder to
Yeah,
for that middle class money to stretch as far as it did in like the 50s or whatever.
yeah. I mean, it's
So,
already enough of a mountain to climb to buy a house.
yeah,
Like, then you got to throw
absolutely.
kids into the mix.
Right.
I watched a video from Ice Cream Sandwich today
Yeah, I
about,
remember him.
yeah. He had a video where he's like, I spent like a summer on a farm or something. And the whole time I was watching this, I was like, man, this is the type of return to monkeyism that Morgan would be all about.
Spending a summer on a farm?
I was just saying farm life in general.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, well,
so.
I mean, like to some extent.
Yeah, to
I
to
don't
some
know.
extent. Well, I mean, like, so for the listeners, if you want my lore, my parents are divorced, and have been since I was like a very small child. But so my dad took over his family farm. So on the weekends, I did live on a farm. Now he didn't like grow crops on it. We had like chickens and ducks and rabbits and things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it was nice to go outside and to watch some little animals bumble around in your yard. It's healing.
Yeah.
Something about it's very soothing.
The idea of like you got like a checklist of these chores, maintenance projects.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to go count the chickens, make sure no coyotes got to them.
That would
you know,
happen a
just
lot, actually.
monitor. Yeah. I would just the idea, like, I don't know. In the video, he talked about chasing off a fox, you know, to get away from these chickens. And I'm like, I don't know. That sounds so thrilling and caveman-like.
So it kind of depends. So the type of like farm people that I'm around, they would like trap them and then shoot them point blank. Like it was like a sort of a violent process to get rid of the critters going after the chickens. Now that's something that I'm too tenderhearted to. I don't think I can do that.
I think that if there was a predator to an animal I cared about, I could probably kill it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
What if it was a possum with a bunch of babies clinging to it? Because I've seen some situations, not to get too depressing, but I've seen some situations where that did not pan out well.
As long as those possums don't like hold a grudge, then
as far as you know.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like 100%, upbeat, fun times, but
right. There's a lot of farming tasks that aren't very glorious. But again, if you keep it pretty small scale, like the things you're doing, if you have like a handful of chickens and not like 50 of them, you're going to have probably a better time. And it's going to be more cutesy and not so much like I'm covered in chicken shit 24/7.
I wonder, like, I mean, like there's a processes part of my brain, like, I don't know, like kind of like in a video game where you have the opportunity to like manage an area and like develop systems for your home and
Minecraft,
Stardew Valley,
right?
Other like factory simulators. I don't know. Having that on like a small, manageable scale in real life. Wow.
It can be done. It can definitely be done.
I could do these chores in real life.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, this is PlayStation 2 podcast.
Right.
Welcome to Analog Schtick, a PlayStation 2 podcast. A podcast where every month we do a deep dive in one PlayStation 2 title. Too many numbers.
Yeah, that's a lot of numbers in a real short span of words.
We cover the game's development history, discuss its legacy, as well as share our thoughts and opinions on the game through a modern lens. We release a new episode on the 2nd of every month, so subscribe or follow if you'd like to stay up to date with the show. And please support the podcast by leaving a review or rating on whatever platform you like to listen on. You can find us on YouTube and podcast platforms as Analog Schtick. I'm your ghost, Clayton, joined as always by your co-ghost, Morgan. Morgan, how are you?
Ooh, beware my floating ship that shoots razor blades at you. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about?
Or, sorry, saw blades? Probably not razor blades. My bad.
Something. I prefer the frog with the weird mace tongue or whatever it had.
Yeah.
A little bit of housekeeping. Please continue to write in questions or feedback to analogschtickmail@gmail.com or any of the other methods to reach out to us. YouTube comments and Spotify comments. Zoe on Spotify left a comment on Rule of Rose saying, I just discovered your channel through YouTube and listened to a couple of your episodes. Really enjoyed your deep dives into survival horror games. Also love to hear a female gaming podcaster.
That's me.
Thank you, Zoe. And thank you, Morgan, for being a female gaming podcaster.
I'm the gamer girl. Hi.
That's right. She's a fake gamer girl.
Fake gamer girl, yeah.
She's been faking it this whole time.
I'm not corporeal. If you, just throw things at me, it'll pass right through me. Ghost, co-ghost. That's me.
Co-ghost.
That's called a throwback. I don't know if you... Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Interesting concept.
Yeah.
I got a shirt that said fake gamer girl, and I was too embarrassed to wear it outside.
What? Why? Yeah, I think it's amazing.
I think I gave it to Goodwill.
Oh my gosh.
I like the idea of someone just going through Goodwill. The men's section.
Right.
Fake gamer girl.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah, I was too embarrassed to wear it out. It was a pajama shirt a couple times, but it was the type of pajama shirt that I was too embarrassed to like take on vacations to see family or anything like that.
Oh my gosh.
I was too embarrassed. Because it fit kind of like a women's t-shirt too.
Oh.
I said that name right, by the way. Zoe. That's how you say
yes.
Z-O-E. Okay.
Yes.
Part of me was, every time I read it, I wanted to say Zoe.
No, that's Zoe.
Is Zoe normally spelled with a Y at the end as well? Or is that optional?
It can be, but yeah, it's optional.
Maybe I'm thinking of Zoe 101.
Yes. Ooh.
I don't think that I need to see a screenshot of Zoe 101. And
Okay.
it's probably just gonna.
Do you know why that show?
I typed in Joey 101.
Yeah, the gender bent Zoe 101. Do you know why Zoe 101 ended?
Why?
She got pregnant. Like the actress got pregnant.
She got pregnant. I assume that she was older than the age she was portraying.
I don't think so. I mean, I think she was like a teenager. At least I think she got pregnant. If I'm wrong about that, my bad.
Oh my God, I'm looking at these characters.
Yeah.
This is so old.
Yes.
This is so old. People don't look like this anymore.
I mean, those people are still alive. Like, they don't dress
I know,
like
I'm just
that,
saying.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, like the shark tooth necklaces.
Oh, and like like the shell like surfer dude necklaces.
Yeah.
And like the frosted tips of the hair.
Oh my God.
Were like spiky.
So many bright colors as well.
Yes, jarringly bright. Yes.
Personally, I'm glad that modern fashion has moved into more of a muted, like neutral and nature sort of tones, like greens, browns, and blacks and grays.
Yeah.
Love it.
If you want to see interesting fashion choices, look at the female protagonists on any Disney sitcom from like 2000 to 2015, and you're going to find something really special.
Absolutely wild. I wonder if people, because it's like an exaggeration of how people actually dressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it was.
People are going to look back on these shows and be like, people dressed like this when they really didn't.
Not really.
They didn't really. This is just what people thought they looked like, I guess. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
It wasn't feasible to put on that many layers.
No one's going to put in that much
layers.
effort for just a Tuesday.
Right. Yeah. Like you've got like a little button-up t-shirt, you've got a jean vest, you've got like a shawl, and then like a freaking, I don't even know what it's called, like a little lacy vest thing over that. It's like, what are we doing?
No, absolutely not. I mean, school starts at like 4 a.m. There's no way people are waking up early enough to get ready and look like this. Where was I? Let's move into the opening topic. I mean,
the random bullshit.
Okay. Sorry, random bullshit. We got rid of opening topic to save time, and since have produced our longest episodes ever.
Right, our two longest back to back.
This will not be a long episode. We will finish this in one sitting, under 2 hours. It's gonna feel crazy. All right, really quick. This is the only thing I got going on since we last talked. I've finally jumped back into Baldur's Gate.
Yes,
and I am loving it. I am so excited for the future. In the future, whenever you try this game, there's no other game that I'm like more confident in you liking than this game.
Yeah.
If you can get past the gameplay mechanics, which I think you can because you like Fire Emblem. So I think you're already most of the way there. As far as like, it's not exactly like Fire Emblem. It's a bit more freeform than, like, it's not grid based.
Yeah. Well, I like Dragon Age and Knights of the Old Republic, which are kind of like D&D based in some ways almost. Like Dragon Age Origins is like heavily D&D-esque. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm loving it. One of the things I really like about it is it doesn't feel particularly expansive. It feels dense. Like there's these areas and it's like you can talk to everybody and everybody is an actual person.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, wow, you guys are people.
Yeah.
It's not like a whole city. It's like a tiny little community, but you're all people. It's not like, I don't know. There's not like 15 of this specific NPC repeated, copy and pasted.
Right.
Over
like citizen of whatever. They all have like names and personalities and yeah.
I mean, there are still some where it's just like, hey, I'm doing great. End of conversation.
Yeah.
But there's a surprising amount of them where it's like, oh man, you guys have like these interlinking dynamics with each other. And I can intervene at various points in ways that I didn't realize on my first playthrough. Because I had to start a new playthrough because when I built my computer, I did not realize that I did not sync some of my saves.
Oh no.
Like 7 hours of my most recent saves with the character I was on. So I just deleted them. Okay. But I was okay with that because I had put it off for so long that I was kind of looking for an excuse to start over.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I kind of forgot everything.
Have you picked a romance partner yet? Is that something you're going to do?
I was initially going to go after Will because I really liked Will. I was playing a female rogue Gloomstalker multi-class ranger rogue thing. And I was going to go after Will because I got to be honest, the male romance options, they're kind of better than the female romance options.
Yeah.
Just IMO. Like Gale and Will, I'm like, these are nice boys. I don't want to say too much because you're going to love these people.
Okay.
They got so many twists and turns with their like characters. Okay. Anyone playing Baldur's Gate, I suggest, I didn't do this and it kind of was overwhelming, but I suggest that you find your party because you have, you can invite everybody to your camp basically and swap between them. I suggest that you find your party and just focus on them. Like find your 3 other characters to roll with. Just focus on them and their stories. Don't try to like do everybody's stories in one playthrough. It feels a little overwhelming.
Okay.
So like find your party, do what they got to do. And then if you play it again, then you can be like, oh, I'm playing with this person now. And all these interactions are different now based on that. So
just thinking about it, I am excited to like build some of my D&D characters like and put them in the game because from what I understand, the character creation is pretty like robust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, oh man, I did not expect to fall in love with like the ability part of the game because like the gameplay of Dungeons and Dragons has always been kind of like a non-starter for me. Like it feels really complicated.
Yeah.
And kind of overwhelming, but I'm getting really into it now. I'm like, oh man, if I do this and this, then it's like there's some sort of synergy there and I can like, I don't know. There's a lot of flexibility with like respecking as well. So you're not like overly committed to your decisions that you made early on. Like, I'm going to be a barbarian. And it's like, this was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So you can just like respec, and you can respec the other characters as well. You can be like, okay, Astarion, you're going to be a paladin now, even though that makes no fucking sense.
Wow.
Just
yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's Baldur's Gate. Morgan, I want to hear about your MCU.
Yeah.
News.
Okay. So by the time this episode comes out, this might be old news. It might be debunked. I don't know. But and this is also just, I think, possibly a rumor. So I don't know like how true this is. But Sage sent me a tweet that says Robert Downey Jr. has reportedly agreed to return as Tony Stark / Iron Man to the MCU. And I would just like to say, I fucking told you. I fucking told you. Back in the Battlefront episode, I think.
Oh, did we talk about this?
We talked about cinematic universes, and I was like, the problem is, specifically with the MCU and specifically with, I mean, like with the cinematic universes we've seen so far, is that they can't let anything go. They just can't let it be. You have to wring every last dime out of it that you possibly can. Therefore, at the end of the day, you are going to have this mediocre product that is a shell of its former self when you should have just let it like die when you had the chance, when it was still good, instead of beating that dead horse. And
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So that's how I feel. I just had to get that off my chest.
Could it be a prequel capacity? Although I will
pointless.
say it's dumb either way. I will say I try to take this on because companies can't let things die. You know, they got to keep making money or whatever, and they're annoying about it. I try to not let new things ruin old things. Like, to me, the MCU ended at Endgame, and it was kind of this nice, long running series of movies that had a climax and an ending, and everything past that is just, take it or leave it. I could watch it and have fun or not, and it doesn't matter. So I can just have my own little head canon for that. Or if like an author comes out and is like, this is actually what this means, it's like, that's okay. That's not how I interpret it. Like, I can interpret it my way, and it can be intended to be a different way.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And not to get like sidetrack the conversation or get overly political.
We never get sidetracked.
We never get sidetracked. I have heard in my life from people who are pro-capitalism, and I'm not even specifying where I am on this whole spectrum of like complicated political views, because I don't have the energy to do that. But I have heard people who are very pro-capitalism be like, capitalism breeds innovation. And I am sitting here watching these companies squeeze the life out of these media properties by reusing ideas over and over. And I'm watching these game developers or maybe publishers make all these AAA games that all feel like the same game. And I'm like, hey guys, where's the fucking innovation? Where's that going? What happened to that capitalism is supposed to produce? Because I'm not seeing it.
Just to add to this conversation of a subject we're not experts on, I will throw my hat into the ring and say, I kind of understand, at its most basic level, capitalism encourages people to meet the needs of their community to some extent. Like, people need fish. I'm going to be a fisherman and I'm going to bring them fish and they will give me currency to buy the things that I need or whatever.
Right. Supply and
I feel
demand.
like that. Yeah. I feel like that stops. I feel like that has stopped working at some point because now we have like I think people call it like late stage capitalism. There's a lot of just the creation of needs, I guess. And just like, I don't know, like we don't need Tony Stark and we don't need any of those movies to survive.
Nostalgia. But remember when you were younger and you watched Iron Man, you felt warm and fuzzy inside. How about we sell that feeling back to you because you need it? Because it's treat yourself.
Yeah, basically just like fishing for people, I don't know, to like buy the same thing over and over again.
Or like, hey ladies, what's unappealing and makes you disgusting beyond reason? Those bags under your eyes. How about we sell you some like $40 eye cream for you to fix that?
Yeah.
Like creating a problem. Like, we don't have to have a problem with our eye bags. Actually, thank you.
I don't remember where I heard this, but obviously we did not always have deodorant. And it took a while for deodorant to catch on. And the way they got it to catch on was targeting like adolescent girls and convincing them that they smell and that they would never find a partner if they smelled.
That pisses me off. I didn't know that. I mean, I don't like to smell bad, but that's because they fucking got to me. They're in my head. No.
They convinced us all that we smell bad. I mean, like other countries. I mean,
they're not wrong. Like, I guess.
But like, we didn't care.
Yeah.
It was a normal smell for a long time.
I guess.
But now we're so like,
we're so sensitive about smells.
Listen, I'm not saying you guys should run around with no deodorant out there, but they tricked us. Just remember that. I don't know.
Right. Well, it's also like the leg hair thing. Like, oh, like you don't have to have like your leg hair is fine. It's natural, which I agree with. But I'm also one of those losers who's like, but I like having smooth legs. Like, I like the way it feels.
Yeah, me too. I like having smooth legs.
Yeah. Good to know.
Man, my legs have been fucking killing me. I am...
Because you shaved them?
Yeah, because I shaved them. And I just cut the shit out of them.
Oh, no.
So I think I've mentioned that I like run a lot on this podcast before. But I've been trying to cut back on that because there was... I don't know what happened. I like stopped running for a bit. I think because I got a little bit injured. And then I came back to it. And then I gave myself shin splints.
Ooh, ow.
Which... it's not like the worst thing ever, but isn't super fun. And shin splints basically just happen anytime you increase training volume, like not gradually, whatever the opposite of gradually is. Suddenly. And I gave myself shin splints again, which is fun.
Ouch.
So yeah, compression sleeves. I'm using compression sleeves like an old man.
Okay.
Got my compression socks on. Yeah. So that's fun. But I've been trying to like, this has basically been the healthiest year of my life. I feel great all the time now, except these fucking leg injuries that I keep giving myself.
Yeah.
Which aren't as bad as like, I don't know, pulling my back muscles, which is what I would do prior to this,
Moving,
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. With your moving job.
This is the trade-off.
Yeah.
No, I never pulled them moving. I only
really?
pulled them from sitting at a desk. So
that feels so back-asswards. Is it,
it
back-asswards or ass-backwards? Whatever.
Ass-backwards.
Ass-backwards? Did I say back-asswards?
Yeah, but that works.
Okay.
I definitely, in my life, have felt at my worst whenever I'm not moving around.
Okay.
And I feel like I always get injured whenever I'm not moving around.
Worth considering
for
me.
This year's been good, but I'm still like trying to refine what the freaking routine is. Like, when do I work out this muscle group? When do I run? When do I bike? I try to dedicate at least 30-ish minutes to it every day.
Do you have a guide? Do you have like someone you follow? Like,
I started out like that, and now I
yeah.
kind of do my own thing.
Mm.
The hardest part was definitely just getting the routine established, and the easiest part is continuing once the routine has already been established.
Right.
Because you inherently know that on Wednesday you do this, and on Thursday you do this, and it's just, I don't have to set a reminder on my phone. I just know to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So once that gets rolling, yeah, I mean, you're all set. But yeah, I need to figure out a way to space some of these activities better because, what was it? Wednesday, I ran. Thursday, I hit my legs. Friday, I biked. And then Saturday, I biked. And it was like, this is not working.
Oh.
I need like a day. I hate the 7-day week. I wish it was 8. I wish we had an even number. That'd be great. I don't know. That's what's really throwing me off. Anyway, this is PlayStation 2 podcast.
Yes.
Let's get into PacMan World 2. All right. Background information. Developed and published by Namco before the Namco Bandai merger. PacMan World 2 was released on the PS2 in North America on February 26th, 2002, and was somewhat well received by critics of the time, currently sitting at a 73 on Metacritic, with the biggest point of criticism being the camera, somewhat a lack of innovation, which I thought was dumb. I don't know. It was mostly fine. Everyone was mostly chill with this game. There were some like outlier low scores, some outlier high scores, but everyone was mostly like good, I guess.
Yeah.
Pac-Man World 2 is the sequel to PacMan World, which released on the PlayStation 1 in 1990. The series received a third entry in 2005 titled PacMan World 3.
You said it released on the PlayStation 1 in 1990. Did you mean 1999?
I meant 1999.
Okay.
Thank you. I will never get through this section without misstating something.
Yeah.
The series received a third entry in 2005 titled PacMan World 3, and after this, the series remained dormant for quite some time until the summer of 2022, where Bandai Namco released a remake of PacMan World 1, PacMan World Repack.
That's like so random.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. Like, I remember it was in a Nintendo Direct or something, and I was like, really? Does this mean we're getting number 2? That was the first thing I asked. But yeah, this remake was received pretty well, but there has been no word of a remake of the second game at this time.
All right.
So, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if you have any history with this game. This was a very important game to me in my childhood. It was one of the early games we got with this system. I mean, I don't know if we got it at launch, or not at launch, but like when we got the PS2, but it was definitely early on. And I don't know, I got a lot of fond memories of just like the sounds and visuals of this game. I don't think we ever made it past the lava world. I think I have like a vague memory of watching my dad play the haunted boardwalk level.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually capped out probably like Magnum Opus or one of those levels, or Magma Opus.
Yeah, it's Magma Opus, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the last levels that I played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did not check my old memory card. I could not find it.
Okay.
But the last time I played this game was on the GameCube about a year and a half ago, where I beat it for the first time. Actually, it might have been like 2.5 years ago at this point.
And did you put a review of that on your personal channel?
No, I wanted to, but I did not.
I couldn't remember if you did or not.
That was after I had stopped doing that.
Right.
That was such like because I did that in like the weird interim of like, I had graduated college, could not find a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have all this time, I might as well do something. So I did reviews I did them weekly, which is kind of insane.
Were they weekly?
Like, yeah, they were weekly.
Okay.
They were weekly for
crazy. 2 weeks. No.
2 weeks. They were weekly for 2 weeks.
I remember you got to Slide 2 and then ground to a halt.
I did them weekly for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 weeks. And then I had 2 more videos that were just kind of sporadic.
Okay.
So yeah, that's some unemployed shit right there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Yeah, that literally ground to a halt as soon as I started getting work.
Yeah. Well, that's a good excuse though.
But yeah, I'm so much happier now. Anyway.
Good.
Oh yeah, not really a huge fan of the Pac-Man series, I guess, which is kind of a weird thing to say. I don't know. But one memory with the Pac-Man series that I do have is in school, computer labs, everyone was looking to game. We're all looking for these games, these gaming websites that like weren't blocked to play like shitty little flash games, basically. And one website that they could not block was Google. And if you remember the Google Doodles that they would occasionally put out. So like on like a special day, they would.
Yeah. The logo, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And they had a website. Google had a website where you could go and look at Google Doodles of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And one of their Google Doodles was a Pac-Man game.
Oh.
Yeah, you can just play Pac-Man in like this Google logo.
Huh. That's cool.
And that was just my ultimate time waster right there.
Yeah.
Instead of learning, God forbid I learned something. But yeah, do you have any history with Pac-Man?
I'm trying to think if... So I know... So Clayton and I are of the age where by the time we came along, arcades were kind of on their way out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were like arcade places around town when we were
younger. We had one
in
our mall.
Yeah, one in our mall. And then we had a different, like, fun, like, family fun time. Come here, jungle gym, crawl around in the side of this building.
Yeah. Which is now an auto zone or something.
Is.
It's
so sad.
That's the most devastating thing.
It crushes my soul to drive past it. But anyway, so we're like late 90s babies. But I do remember, I have distinct memories of going to a Pizza Hut with my family, maybe with some of my cousins around my age, and there being a Pac-Man arcade machine there.
Interesting. Cannot Pizza the Hut. I like that Pac-Man is in a Pizza Hut because he is a kind of pizza-shaped being.
Yes. Yeah. And then I'm trying to remember do you remember there being like these cheap plug-and-play things at Walmart?
Where I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
This joystick, plug it in your TV. It has the game on it. Yeah. I remember those floating around.
Oh, yeah.
There were SpongeBob ones.
I had the SpongeBob one with his nose as the control stick.
Yep.
There was an Atari one, which I believe is the one you're referring to, that contained Pac-Man.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, these things, they were not like, I would like to track one down, because in my head, I'm like, these were not that bad. I mean, they were just simple. Well, let me take that back. The ones with like officially licensed arcade games were not that bad. The ones that were weird bootleg SpongeBob reskin games were questionable.
Yeah.
But like the Atari one, it's like you can play Dig Dug, Pac-Man. It's like it's got a little it's a nice enough form factor. Just a button and a joystick. It's like, it's not bad. I had the Atari one and the SpongeBob one. I should track those down.
Yeah, if you still have them somewhere.
If I still have them. I wonder if they're like a collector's item on eBay or uber cheap. Okay, they're like $25. That's a little bit too much for me. Okay.
Yeah.
So, are you familiar at all with this game?
No.
Okay. It was fairly well. It sold fairly well. I think it sold I saw 1.8 million, which was pretty good for the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure the sequel number 3 sold less. I think as far as I'm aware, this is the game in the series that people like the most. All right. How did you prepare for this episode? I'm curious to see how far you got.
I think what came after the lava levels, I'm trying to remember.
So there was the submarine levels. There were scuba levels followed by 2 submarine levels.
I don't remember the scuba levels at all. So I think I just got to the lava levels.
Okay.
Like the very end of them.
Yeah. There's scuba levels, submarine levels, which I'm disappointed you didn't get to experience because they're the worst levels in the game.
Oh, okay.
But I'll tell you about that.
Sure.
Yeah. So I played through up to the submarine levels. OPL was having some compatibility issues with this game.
Oh no.
So I jumped back into my GameCube save on the GameCube and dabbled in all of the remaining levels. But yeah, that's That's what I played. It was nice to play a short game. I'll
Yes,
tell you.
it was.
It was like, man, I played this whole thing in a day. That's incredible.
Yeah, every time I sat down, I felt like I was getting through so many levels like relatively quickly, and I was like, "Oh, this is weird. It's a weird
man,
feeling."
it's so good. You could play this game, I think, like 3 or 4 times in just the amount of time it would take you to watch all of the Final Fantasy cutscenes.
Yes, absolutely.
man.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into some very important questions.
Okay.
All right, Pac-Man or Mrs. Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man? Sorry.
Solidarity.
You can only save one.
Solidarity between women. I'm gonna have to pick Miss Pac-Man.
Are you going off of the people or the arcade games by chance?
The people.
I assume the people or the packs. Yeah. I think as far as an actual pack person, I'm more aligned with Pac-Man. He's just kind of like the default human.
Okay.
But as far as an arcade cabinet, Miss Pac-Man is obviously the correct answer. Much more refined game. Are you familiar with the differences?
No. That's why I'm looking at you like I don't understand what's going on.
So Miss Pac-Man, I don't know everything, but Miss Pac-Man in general. But Miss Pac-Man was just kind of a refined Pac-Man. It had more stages, and it had like this little story in between each screen clear of like, chasing off a pack ghosts or whatever. Yeah.
We love to see a girl boss winning.
Exactly. She was the original girl boss.
Okay.
There were no girl bosses before Miss Pac-Man.
No, not Joan of Arc, no Cleopatra. Nope, none of those.
Yep. Miss Pac-Man came out and women were like, we can do that?
Right. Then the women's suffrage movement happened. Feminism became a thing. It was like just flipped the world on its head.
And it was all because of Miss Pac-Man.
All because of Miss Pac-Man.
All right. Another question. Very important question.
Okay.
Blinky, Pinky, Inky, or Clyde?
Okay. Because I'm so special and unique and different and not like other girls, haha. I feel like I have to pick Clyde because it sounds different. However, in this game, wasn't Pinky acting a bit deranged and like spying on Pac-Man in the opening? The opening cutscene was so uncomfortable for me.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Anyway, just throwing that out there.
So Clyde, I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pinky, I don't know when Pinky was kind of created to be like an Amy character or like a creepy
stalker
girl.
Overly obsessed.
It was probably one of maybe this series. I don't know. But yeah, that opening cutscene is beautiful.
Yeah, Pinky, I'm going to throw shade. I know I just said that you have to have solidarity between women, but Pinky does not capture the girl boss energy that Miss Pac-Man captures in the slightest because she wishes. Yeah. And that's all I have to say about that.
Morgan, can you correctly identify which color goes to which name?
Well, Pinky is the pink one.
Well, you'd be surprised. No, that's correct.
Okay. Sorry, can you tell me what the other colors are?
So there's an orange, blue, red, and pink.
Orange, blue, red, and pink. I feel like Inky would be blue. And is Clyde red?
I was wrong. I thought Clyde was red.
Oh.
No. I had these wrong. I had all of these wrong. I thought Blinky was blue. But I guess Blinky is red.
Okay.
Inky is cyan. Pinky is pink. And Clyde is orange.
Okay. So I had Pinky and Inky right, but I had Blinky and Clyde mixed up.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware that in the arcade games that they were all programmed to act in a specific way? Like each ghost acted differently. So
yeah, they had like little like quote unquote personalities where like this one takes this specific route, this one, right?
Yes. I think in the Japanese translation, I think that the names have meanings that kind of say what they do. So the red one, I think, translates to like shadow or something, and shadow it basically just goes directly after Pac-Man.
Okay.
The entire time. Now, I think the blue ghost is afraid of Pac-Man and kind of goes away from Pac-Man. I think that Pinky tries to like go where Pac-Man will be. I may be wrong. I am wrong on these, but I think that Clyde is like a wild card and he just kind of goes.
So like the 4 Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine if one of the Ninja Turtles was a girl? That would be strange. She had a pink headband.
Oh, they had a girl Ninja Turtle, and I don't remember her name, but hers was like a lighter blue. She was like cyan.
Let's see. Girl Ninja Turtle.
And I think she fought with like a blanket.
She fought with emotions.
She had her nails, she had acrylic nails that she would use to claw people.
Did she have a long braid?
Yeah, maybe. Was it Venus? Okay. Is her name Venus?
Yes. I see a Venus.
Okay. That was her.
All right. Back to what we're talking about, Pac-Man?
Yeah.
Okay. Morgan, I got a question for you. This is maybe a I don't know, philosophical question. Is Pac-Man the first stealth game?
See, when I perused the document beforehand and I saw this question, I was wanting to know what parameters are we talking about that dictates whether or not something is a stealth game? Because, like, no. Is it not? I mean...
I guess maybe an evasion game would be better.
Yeah, because you can't exactly like hide from the ghosts.
Right.
Because you can't, there is no hiding from them.
Mm-hmm.
No.
All right. Well, it was worth a shot.
Say no.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah.
I feel like it's close. Like if someone said Pac-Man is the first stealth game, change my mind, in one of those little sign things. I'd be like, I get what you're saying, but you're still crazy. And I kind of like that, but I'm also not going to like agree with you openly, maybe. I don't know.
The first, you know what the first stealth game is? Hide and seek.
You know what the first stealth game is?
Hiding from predators so you don't get mauled to death.
I was gonna say, evading wildlife.
Right. At that point, is it a game though? I don't know if it is.
The original game, yeah.
Right.
It's like calling chess a stealth game almost. Like, oh, you gotta hide the king.
The first the first Hitman game was when Cain murdered Abel. Like bludgeoning him, Hitman, bludgeoning him with a rock.
Wasn't there a story in the Bible where someone kills someone and then dresses up as them?
No.
Yes, that's Jacob. Jacob, right?
Well, they didn't kill him. They just took some animal pelts because like Esau was a hairy man, and Jacob was like, I must pretend. Oh, his mom was like, pretend to be Jacob so you can steal his blessing because that's what you should do in a godly household. I guess. I don't know.
That was the original Hitman.
Yeah.
Just dressing up in a stupid outfit.
Right. Put on these furs, pretend to be your hairy ass brother. Well, and then in that case, then was the original stealth game when. Sorry, we're getting really weird with these references now. But when Adam and Eve ate the apple they weren't supposed to, and then they hid from God.
The original stealth game.
Right.
Can we hide from God?
Can we hide from God? And the original speech check was when God was like, hey, did you do what I didn't tell you to do? And they were like, no.
Oh, man. I cannot fucking believe they did not use their inspiration die on that roll.
Yeah.
That really was necessary.
We all had to pay for it. We're all still paying for it.
Yeah. These are the type of lasting consequences that you will find in Baldur's Gate, by the way. Just saying. You'll fail speech check at the beginning of the game. Whole playthrough is different. The rest of humanity is different for it.
Oh, no.
But yeah, let's back to the very important questions. No more Bible talk.
Okay.
Morgan, what is the best platformer setting? A lot of these platformers reuse the same few settings. We got like foresty area, snow level, water level, fire levels. What is the best setting? Let's settle this once and for all.
Jungle.
Oh, jungle's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm thinking Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. I like any forested area. It's usually the starting area, those forested areas. They got good vibes.
They do, yeah.
They're not trying to kill you necessarily. Kind of fun, welcoming, comforting.
I do like, for later levels, I do also appreciate the climbing up the castle wall things.
Ooh, okay.
I do.
So
I
like
do
an
appreciate that.
indoor level. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that. I mean, water is definitely the worst, and this game definitely solidifies that.
I was not enjoying snow or fire either, to be honest.
Yeah, snow can be a bit tricky, a bit slippy.
Slippery.
Bit slippy out there. All right, Morgan. I want to know, how do you define hidden gem? I noticed some people referring to this game as a hidden gem.
Okay.
It sold very well, was received softly, and is kind of forgotten. Like, what is the most important factor with something being referred to as a hidden gem, in your opinion?
I would say, to me, not. I wouldn't say, because you have the question: is it sales, review scores, or something more nebulous? I'm gonna go with, like, I like, hidden gem to me is like almost synonymous, almost but not quite synonymous with cult classic, where it's like it's not, it hasn't had like a big impact in like pop culture. It's not something a lot of people are familiar with. It has more to do with, like, I guess, is notoriety the right word?
Yeah, notoriety. Yeah,
just like not very well known. Like Tulip, I would argue that Tulip is
Tulip is a hidden gem. Yes. Tulip, I think, fits that definition because it did not sell well. It is not well known. It was reviewed poorly.
Yes.
I think. I actually don't remember.
No, it was. Remember, it was on like the worst, one of the worst games.
People hated it.
Lists.
That's right. Yeah.
I will also say, just to expand my definition or clarify it a little bit, something can be both a hidden gem and a cult classic, but something can also be a hidden gem without a cult classic, or without the cult classic following too, because it can be so hidden that like no one knows what the hell it is. And then you engage with it and you're like, oh, this is really good. I like this. So
I would say that hidden gem for me is like relative to the time that you're currently in. Like, is this thing something that has kind of been lost to time, something that has been forgotten? Then I think you can qualify that as a hidden gem. Like, I'm not going to go out and say Sly Cooper is a hidden gem.
Yeah, it's
because
not.
Sly Cooper is still fairly well remembered. There hasn't been a new game, but it's like maybe not a relevant franchise, but like it was so popular that it has not been forgotten yet.
Yes.
I guess. But I think that calling this game a hidden gem, despite it selling very well, isn't like totally egregious.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's fine because it has been something that is kind of forgotten. Like, oh, this Pac-Man platformer that was like mostly good. Hidden gem. I think that's fair. All right. Do you have any very important questions before we move into gameplay?
No.
All right. Let's move into gameplay. Blazing through this episode. It feels wrong. Feels like we should talk about Naruto for another 30 minutes, but let's continue.
And then everyone clicks off the episode. They're like, not again.
Not again. Let's move into gameplay. I wanted to start with core movement. So just like the, running, walking, jumping. Yeah, as far as like weight, speed, I feel like Pac-Man feels like really intuitive. And part of this is hard for me to gauge because this is kind of a formative game for me. So I kind of based some standards probably subconsciously off of this game and how it feels and how I remember it feeling as a kid. But as a newcomer, level design aside, did you feel like Pac-Man controlled how you expected a Pac-Man to control?
Yeah. No, I would say I didn't have any problems with the controls. I did have problems with like being able to tell, like gauging, like depth perception was really hard for me.
I agree.
And like gauging where he was in space during certain jumps, like it was hard for me to tell either because of the camera angle or like there's also, I think, like a lack of a shadow beneath him.
There is a shadow.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yes, but it doesn't really help whenever they're trying to get you to perform like fairly precise jumps.
Yeah.
Like in one of the fire levels, there's like this big area with a bunch of tiny little platforms.
Yeah.
And unless you like have committed Pac-Man's jump to memory, it's very hard to make those. And you have a little bit of leeway with like him grabbing onto edges, but not too much. If you overshoot it, you're kind of dead.
Right.
And you can't like position the camera in a more favorable angle, really. So I don't know. I feel like personally, precise platforming is not super compatible with 3D games. Like, I feel like it works better in 2D games when you have, you cut out that Z-axis and you're just working in 2 dimensions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
once you
would
add
have to
that third
agree with
dimension
you.
in there, you got the camera. It's like, it's hard to like
Right.
ask this of the player. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But I would attribute that more to level design than like, and maybe the camera,
Yeah.
than I would to like the feel of Pac-Man.
Right. Yeah, like I was never really frustrated with how it felt to like control him. It was mainly level design choices.
Right. You're never like, oh, I didn't jump as high as I thought I could, or I guess.
Yeah.
Something that I feel less confident about, but I kind of like the concepts that they played around with in here. Some of Pac-Man's like sort of extra abilities, starting with the rev roll, his little like charge up, kind of like a little Sonic spin dash situation. I like the idea of it. I feel like it works with his round nature, but I felt like the second they started asking you to perform like rev roll jumps,
Accurate.
Like perform them accurately as opposed to just clearing a gap. It's fairly difficult because it's so fast, and you do have a way to kind of stop if you jump again, but it still feels like there's some momentum. It's a weird feeling. I didn't love that because you kind of have to rely on like the player cutting off the momentum with the jump. And that feels weird,
awkward.
even if it is what you're meant to do. Yeah, it's weird to ask the player to do that for like a precise, like do a rev roll jump, this super fast, spin roll, jump off a little ramp and then land on a tiny platform. That's pretty difficult. That was the source of like most of my frustration for a lot of these levels.
Yeah, I remember there was one in, I think, one of the icy levels. Oh, you would have to use like the rev rolls to get past like spots where you would like slide backwards.
Yeah.
Because of the ice. Yeah. And one of those was like really frustrating to get him to like jump out of it because there was like something weird going on. I don't know if it was like input lag or what for me, where I would do the rev roll and I wouldn't be able to like get out of it quickly enough to jump to where I was like trying to get to or something. I don't know. It was weird. And then I think some of the lava levels, they had like teeny tiny little ramps for you to like rev roll off of.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it could have been like maybe a little bit more forgiving with the room that it gave you to work with. I don't know.
The lava levels are definitely what jumps to mind first. I can't remember which, I think it's the first or second lava level. There's like a section right after a checkpoint where you have to, there's like some moving platforms combined with a rev roll jump.
Yes, yeah, I remember those.
That one's pretty rough. I was not a big fan of that one. There's also one in the lava section where I think it's Magma Opus, where you have to like fight one of those big lava golem things, stomp on him, and then you have to like backtrack through the area that you were just in, and you have to rev roll jump off of one of those like trampoline pads that's at an angle, if that makes sense. And because those trampoline pads kind of like have like a point underneath them that they're like balanced from, if you stand on the edges of them, it kind of like wobbles. It's just an awkward, it was an awkward choice, because then you also have to do a precise landing on a falling platform. Yeah, it was just a weird one all around, it felt like. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, aside from like those handful of instances, like using a rev roll to clear a gap is kind of fun, but using it to land precisely on a little pinpoint platform is not as fun.
Yeah.
Moving on to the butt bounce. Big fan of the butt bounce. I don't know about you, but I was butt bouncing all over the place. That was like, you know how like whenever you're playing a game and you just kind of bunny hop everywhere? Got like ADHD brain or whatever, and you just gotta keep pressing. I was butt bouncing everywhere, just boop, boop, boop. It was a lot of fun. I really like, it's just like a, I don't know, it's kind of like snappy and satisfying to just like immediately
the descent
and with a lot of speed fall to the ground.
Yeah.
Slam on the ground. It's fun. I found it's like a fun way to interact with the world. Like they have you press a lot of switches, break crates, and bounce on trampolines. And I felt like all that was like a nice, fun little mechanic. I was a big fan, especially the trampolines in the levels that make use of them.
Yeah, I feel like as far as like ground pound moves go, because that's kind of what this is.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely like one of the more satisfying ones. Like it doesn't feel like it's too harsh when it like halts your momentum or like it's
Hmm.
not. Yeah, and the animation isn't obnoxiously long or anything. Like it's yeah,
Hmm.
it works for what it is.
I will say, coming back to this game, for some reason, I thought there was a double jump at some moments, and I would just go to jump, and I'd press jump again, and then I would just bounce
Plummet.
into oblivion. Yeah,
Yeah.
just, and it's kind of funny, but yeah,
I do remember being confused and maybe like slightly annoyed that the butt bounce is like your only method of attack.
right.
Like I do kind of wish there was like, can I just like punch him?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
your only
know.
method of ground attack. You can jump and kick, and then you can butt
Oh
bounce.
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
In the third game, there is like brawling mechanics, which is not everybody's favorite.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, the third game is kind of a departure from this. Kind of turns into like Pac-Man has a voice. It's weird.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it feels like he shouldn't. Like if you're gonna have of all the protagonists we've talked about, he's the one who does not need a voice.
No, he can remain voiceless
Yeah.
and
And
oppressed.
crash.
Yeah, and yeah. Another, I don't know if this is an ability or like a gameplay mechanic or whatever, but I just want to say the pack dot chains, where it's like the red pack dot, and then it like takes you through like a level. I found those to be nice, cathartic, satisfying little sections, because it's normally like, I don't know, it's almost positioned as a reward most of the time for like reaching a section, flipping a switch, and then one of these pack dot trails appears. Nice and satisfying.
Yeah, sometimes they confused me because there were some times where it's like, oh, this pack dot chain, it's like optional. It's going to lead you to optional collectibles.
Mhm.
It's like, how do I know which one is optional and which one is like, this is the way to get to the end of the level? Because I was just trying to get to the end of the levels. But
Oh yeah.
um,
I mean, me too. I've never really felt super compelled to chase the collectibles in this game,
mhm.
because I believe that it asks you to get all the fruit, obviously the tokens, but I think it also wants you to like collect all the pack dots.
Yes, it does. I did that at first and I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, it's not like the most enticing collectathon, I think.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, as far as like, I guess the fun goes, the fun is more related to the platforming, not the like active collecting the things.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, because I feel like in other collectathon games, the collectible is like cooler than
Yeah,
fruit. I don't know. I know fruit
like,
is a part of Pac-Man lore.
right.
I don't
I mean,
know.
I guess the arcade coins are okay,
I
but
liked
like,
the arcade coins.
yeah,
Well, those had a reward, like you got
yeah,
something from
yeah,
doing those.
right. But like Sly Cooper, it's like get the bottles, then you get a new ability. It's like, ooh.
Right?
And then Crash Bandicoot, it's like, oh, get these things, then you get an extra like path later on in the game or whatever. Like it's, I don't know,
Yeah.
more rewarding than like high score.
Mm-hmm. There may have been a reward associated with like 100% completion or fruit collecting, but
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I don't think there is, honestly. I know that you get stuff for the tokens, but aside from that, I don't think you got a reward for going out of your way to collect stuff.
Yeah, but also it was kind of annoying because like if you like between checkpoints, if you collected a bunch of things and then you died, you'd have to go pick them all up again.
Yes,
And I was
that's
like,
right.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing that.
And I kind of want to say, it must be the same if you like start the level over. Like I can't remember if it was something weird where it's like you have to do 100% in one go
Mm.
or what. I don't know. But especially for like the on rails levels, just sounds like a nightmare. Like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to touch on this camera before we leave the mechanics section.
Yes.
It was a big pain point for reviewers at the time, and I think we both had problems with it. I think its main issue is that it would just get stuck on geometry. Like cameras at this point in this generation feel very restrictive compared to modern day game cameras, where you can kind of move past objects that are in the way and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the default state, like sometimes it would whip around in like really confusing ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It
then
was
like the times where
rough.
it's like you can move your camera now, but then it would like lock your camera. And when you try to move it, it would have this little like pop up, be like, no, you can't move your camera right now.
Oh,
And I
you
was
don't
like,
want to
why
move your
not?
camera right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be one of the things if they did remake this game. I hope that they can fix that camera. I feel like it would be more enjoyable. Like that would be a big, if you were to fix one thing, fixing the camera, I think would help the game a lot.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say for gameplay. I mean, it's a platformer. Yeah. If you got anything else before we move on to levels. All right, level design. So I want to know, I'll let you go first. What are some standout levels in your opinion?
I don't remember level names.
Yeah.
But I remember like the one with the trees, tall trees, and the platforms you have to bounce between.
Yes.
I remember that being kind of fun. I was like, oh wow, like we're really schmoovin', huh?
I think it was like Bedoing Woods or something.
Probably. And then I remember the snow. There was a snow one where you have like a big snowball that chases you, at least for part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I don't know, I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm playing Crash Bandicoot. Like I am having a fun time.
That one had big Crash Bandicoot feel. I liked that
did.
one a lot too. I'm glad you brought it up. I forgot about it. It's it has those like air cannons or whatever that like.
Oh, those pissed me off.
I liked if there was one that was like pointed like the way that you were running, you could like jump into it and it would just fling you way down the course.
Yeah.
And it was really fun.
I think there were some, I don't remember if it was that level or a different level, but the one where they had the air cannons that were like close to like a ledge, and it's like, haha, don't get blown off the ledge.
Mm-hmm.
But they would come so fast. Like like they hardly had like a break for me to get around them. I don't remember. I had a hard time.
Okay. I feel you. I like the snowball one though, and all of the tree ones, like those. I just love we'll get into this later, but that like the woods level, the treetop levels where it's like nighttime in the forest.
Yeah, I like those.
Obsessed with that.
Yeah.
That was like
me of treetops in Spyro.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's like a Twilighty kind of like slightly spooky, slightly not. This game has like slight Christmas and Halloween vibes with the snow levels and the spooky levels later on. And I dig it. But yeah, that's like whenever I think of this game, I think of those levels, like Butane Pain and Bedoing Woods or whatever it was named, whatever dumbass name it was. But yeah, love those. For me, Blade Mountain, Haunted Boardwalk, those are like the most replayable levels for me. I love the sense of speed you get with both of them. It's a little bit different in Boardwalk because you have more control over, you can go backwards and forwards. It's more just like a regular platforming level, but on crack because you got roller blades. But Blade Mountain is kind of like a downhill course, and it's really fun. That was the one that I would always look forward to whenever I was playing it as a kid. Yeah. It's a good one. Love doing the jump kick, smacking those little crates up top.
Yes.
Very
satisfying.
Very fun. It's not so fun to mistime the kick and then just kind of like collide with it and then fall into a puddle. And
yeah.
Yeah. That one not so fun. It just I love levels that give you like a real sense of speed, and that's one of them.
Yep. I get it.
Now, on the contrary, what are some of the levels that you found to be the most tedious or frustrating?
There was a lava one where the level was sort of built around like hitting buttons to lower the like lava level in the cave. And I feel like that one had a lot of like turn around and backtrack like what you just did.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
That is something that like I've played this game a bunch of times. I've beat it once. And I'm like fairly familiar with like the earlier levels especially, but there were times where I was like getting confused. I'm like, wait, where am I supposed to go? And that feels weird. I feel like a game like this should be a fairly linear platforming experience.
Yeah.
Or at least like have some more like diegetic ways of guiding the player, like without, I don't know, not necessarily like a big arrow over where they need to go, but like
a quest marker.
Maybe just like after a cutscene plays, like the camera is pointed where you're supposed to be going.
Yeah. For sure.
And like, I don't know, there were a couple like branching paths that I was supposed to go down that it's like, everything's kind of weird looking and I didn't notice it. Some like level design could have been better at like guiding you as the player where you're supposed to go, but it wasn't a huge problem. But like in those lava levels, that's where the backtracking sort of becomes the new thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frustrating levels for me, I mentioned it earlier, but the Pac-Marine levels.
That's the submarine ones.
Submarine levels.
Okay.
They're so long and tedious. It's also like butt clenching how long they are because you don't want to die at any point. You have to redo any of it. You're just like, I want to get this over with.
Yeah.
It's interesting how many ideas they kind of shove into that section too, because there's like power-ups and like, I don't know, it's like an on-rails shooter thing. It's weird and I don't like it. And it was my least favorite part of like revisiting this game.
Yeah, you said on-rails shooter. I didn't even experience this level, but just by that alone, I'm already like falling asleep.
Yeah. There's two of them back to back, which is
weird.
Another issue. I feel like there's a pacing issue in this game. That's this specific stretch of levels. So like right as you're ending the fire world, you go into a stretch of 6 levels.
Okay.
I think it's 6 levels. And it's a boss fight with one of the ghosts. So it's the hardest version of the ghost boss fight. And then you go into the water world, which has 2 scuba levels back to back, and then 2 submarine levels back to back, which are both like on rails kind of sections. So pacing is a little, it's like they're longer levels. So you can't speed through them. You just kind of have to go. And then you come out to like the spooky haunted area of the map, and you do it's more of a platforming section, but it is on roller blades, so it's atypical still. And then you hop back into 2 platforming levels, and then the end of the game. It's just weird. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
I feel like stuff like that ideally is spaced out more. I know that they wanted to theme the levels and like progress through different themes, but I don't know, maybe just have like one water level where it's just platforming still.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that feels like an odd choice, especially because like the point of a platformer is to teach the player or to like get them to.
You have like a progression of difficulty of a specific.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, I feel like earlier in the game, it's much better at this, where it's like Blade Mountain comes after, a handful of platforming, and then it goes back to platforming, and then all that. It's kind of weird that the game ends on what feels like a majority gimmick levels.
Yeah. Then again, I mean, to me, that's like also what I feel like you kind of experience in a typical like Crash game. Well, maybe not a typical Crash game, but like
some of the later Crash games.
Yeah.
Where
it's like, oh, you've been doing platforming this whole time. Here, have a rocket launcher. And it's like, what? Okay.
I like the idea of, so for me, I like when pacing, like they make pacing adjustments, but it's still kind of based in the same gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
So like the rollerblades are really fun because it's kind of like platforming on crack, which is
that makes sense.
Kind of a fun way to mix up the pacing, I guess. Because it's not the standard, I'm running around at Pac-Man speed. I'm just running around at like Mach 10 going through this haunted boardwalk. Just fun.
Yeah.
Ghost Bayou is the last platforming level, and it is an extremely long and tedious level that I think ends in a boss fight. I can't remember. Yeah, then you go straight into the boss fight after that. That one's not my favorite. I remember the first time I beat this game a year or 2 ago or whatever, I said, this was like probably the longest I spent on any level, and it was like, man, I just want this game to be over with.
Yeah.
At this point, but let's talk about boss fights.
They pissed me off. Yeah. No, they weren't that bad. I don't know. There was just like a certain level of like jank.
Yes.
About them. where like there were certain attacks that would like knock me off the map. And it just felt sort of like obnoxious and unfair.
Yeah.
But there were also like spots where, because I don't think the boss arenas differed that much with how they were laid out either.
They kind of just got progressively like less
more complicated.
Kind of.
Sorry, what?
Less forgiving, like
less forgiving, yeah.
Because there's a run of 3 boss fights that are just those ghost things,
right? With their big robots,
mm-hmm.
And the big robots
first one, it's like
approximately the same.
Right, you can like rev roll the first one and like hit them. They just become harder to damage, have more phases.
Yes,
and the platforms become harder to jump between. That's kind of the idea, but
right. Which I don't know how I feel about all the bosses being so samey.
That wasn't my favorite. No.
Yeah. And then there were certain spots with some of the bosses where I could completely cheese them by like standing in one spot and they would just like spin around me helplessly and not be able to touch me, which was kind of funny. But yeah, as far as like boss design goes, was not great.
No, and I was kind of expecting there to be more boss variety because you start with that bullfrog boss, which is like neat. You know, you got to slam his tongue or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then rev roll. That one is also fairly janky though, trying to like stand on his tongue as it's extended. You can fall off that pretty easily. And then the ghost boss fights are cool, but I kind of wish that there was only one of them and the other ones had their own machines.
I wonder if that was something that was planned but like got cut due to like time and budget.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, because it feels like that's what they wanted to happen based off of one of the ghosts having a unique machine and then the other 2 not. But yeah, and the boss fights were a little janky. You can cheese them in certain ways. Like you can get 2 like ground pounds in on like the control center thing that the ghost is in at a couple spots and, you know, get more hits in than the game probably wants you to in a row. But there's just some not fun BS associated with it. So in the last one, the lava ghost fight, there's no like platform connecting. There's no like bridge between like the 5 platforms. Like the platforms are spaced out like kind of like a 5-sided or like how the 5 would look on a 6-sided dice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like 1 in the center and then 4 around it. And there's no bridge connecting them anymore, so you have to rev roll between them if you want to get to them. And you do have to get to them because sometimes the damage phase on the boss will require you to go to one of those to run over and smack them. But because there's no bridge, you can't run. You have to rev roll jump. And some of them, it's just like, no matter how perfectly squared up I was, I just didn't make the jump. And it's like, that's not fun.
Frustrating.
Luckily, there is like checkpoints in the boss fights. So like every time you get a line of dialogue, that is basically a checkpoint. Okay. But if you get a game over, you do have to start the level over. So that's a little rough. I think both times, pretty much every time I get to the final ghost fight, I'm getting a game over once, like mostly out of impatience. It's not that hard. And I could just be patient and try to get one hit in as opposed to try to squeeze multiple. But yeah, can't do that. Anyway, yeah, boss fights. Spooky is fairly easy at the end of the game. He just kind of like throws fireballs at you and does some weird effects. Nothing too crazy or spectacular. You just run up and smack him when he's done being up in the sky. And yeah, that's that. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about if you're good to move on from boss fights.
I am.
One more thing in level design. I want to talk about the hub world because there was an attempt to have a hub world. It's just like a very easy first level that you can revisit. Yes. And will have more like games in the arcade, basically, is what I could gather.
Yep.
And I feel like it could have been really cool if after like every level, let's say you return to the hub world or something, or you had the option to. It's kind of weird that it's positioned as a first level as opposed to...
Yeah, like a central spot. Or
yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Big fan of hub worlds. Any platformer I feel like benefits from having a hub world.
I liked how Spyro did it, but
Yes, I love how Mario 64 did it.
mhm.
I love an evolving hub world. That's my favorite, I think.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not a hub, this world. You don't it's not a hub to connect all the worlds or all the levels. It's just a level you can revisit.
Yeah. That
It's a
feels
little
kind of weird.
I'm ready to move on to aesthetics.
Sure.
All right. So, how do you feel about the adaptation of Pac-Man, the little circle pizza man, the transition to 3D? Like, how do you like his design?
I think his design is fine. Gameplay wise, I mean, it's not. There was an attempt. Because there's some sections of the levels where the little ghosts are hanging out, and you can pick up an orb and go munch them to bits if you want. And there are sections with the little what are they called? The little balls.
Pack pellets.
Pack pellets. There are sections where they have the pack pellets laid out sort of like they had them in the arcade game, where I guess you can run around for a second and pretend you're playing the arcade game. But it doesn't really like translate very well into 3D.
Did you play any of like the actual, like whenever you grabbed like one of those Atari symbols, it would warp you to like a traditional top-down Pac-Man level?
Oh, really? I never did that.
There was, I think, one in each level. I think they were normally like hidden in some respect, but.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, no, I never messed with that.
I mean, it's just
that's
Pac-Man.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah,
other than that, it was sort of like an odd transition, like I said, to go from this like little maze, this 2D maze environment to like 3D, you're jumping on trees and floating platforms and volcanoes now.
It's hard because I grew up with this, so there's an inherent bias in like how I feel towards a 3D Pac-Man, but I really like how he looks in 3D. It's kind of the default Pac-Man in my mind. Like whenever I think of Pac-Man, I picture this Pac-Man, which is also like the Pac-Man from Smash Brothers and stuff like that. So
I forgot he was in Smash Brothers.
That's right. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of people who think of this Pac-Man before they think of
the arcade one,
the little pie chart Pac-Man.
Yeah,
it's a fairly like, I don't know, Mickey Mouse-esque design, just boots and gloves or whatever.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah, but I like it. It works. I like all the Pac people too. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
They're just the same character with different outfits, basically. And it's
right.
Like, their outfit is their personality. And that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I think it works for a kid's game like this. Kind of feels, he has a the Mr. Man books, like the Mr. Happy, Mr. Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of has that vibe, just a shape with arms and legs.
My favorite was Mr. Persnickety.
Mr. Persnickety.
I think that was one of them. Anyway, but yes, I get what you're saying.
There was an episode of my dad podcast where they talked about all these Mr. Men books and how the moral of the story is they get reprimanded for who they are.
Oh, geez.
And then they have to stop being who they are or something.
That's a weird moral. I
guess.
I
don't know.
Don't be yourself. Be yourself, but not too much. Not like that.
Yeah. I don't remember. I think there was one that was like Mr. Tickles, and he kept tickling everybody, and then a witch cursed him, and he couldn't tickle anybody anymore. And he's like, "Please uncurse me." And she's like, "Okay, but you can only tickle one person every day." I love the little morals that you try to teach children. That's a really fun thing. I don't know if you have thought of this, but me and Claire, I think mostly, I don't know if Claire thinks about it as much, but I have like a repository of kids media in my head that I'm like, okay, I have seen this and I agree with the morals that it's trying to present, and I could also, importantly, tolerate watching this on repeat with my child.
VeggieTales.
VeggieTales
for me.
I want to rewatch VeggieTales as an adult.
Oh, they're so good. I unironically love them.
I'd have to give VeggieTales a screening before I shoved it in front of my kid. Don't want them to grow up hoping to become or do what I did, which was try to fight my brother with a plunger because of Larry Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so gross. I talked about this on this podcast. So we've talked about VeggieTales before is what that means. I'd be down for like Bluey from everything that I've heard. I'd like to give that a watch.
Yeah.
That seems
not
fun.
Peppa Pig. You don't want to get them indoctrinated into
not Peppa Pig. I remember my sister is 10 years younger than me. So I grew up with experiencing a lot of the child things that she was, interested in. The one that I could not stand was Elmo. I hated Elmo with every fiber of my being. I hated his goddamn annoying voice.
Oh.
I wanted to strangle Elmo through the screen every time I heard him.
Damn, okay.
So no Elmo for my kids. I can't take
What about the Muppets?
Muppets are cool. I don't have any gripes with the Muppets. I'm specifically talking about Elmo the character.
Okay.
Who just happens to be the star of the show for the Elmo show. Or Sesame Street. Yeah, I could not take Elmo.
Gosh, anyway. I'm trying to think of any other. I remember wanting to strangle Barney.
Oh, yeah. Some of that stuff Barney. I couldn't even remember. I think I did grow up on Barney. I grew up on Thomas the Tank Engine as well.
Okay.
Big Thomas the Tank Engine fan.
I had a brief Teletubbies phase, and my dad likes to tell me about how that drove him a little insane because they didn't really talk. They just made they just sort of made noises at each other.
That's a weird one.
He kind of hated that.
That's a weird one.
It was bizarre.
Yeah. I want to be very intentional about the media my kids consume because, I'm not going to do that. I feel like our generation has learned that you don't just hand your kids an iPad.
Yeah, no mindless iPad. I don't want to have an iPad kid.
No, yeah. I think I'm just going to avoid. Oh, CoComelon, Jesus.
Fuck that. No.
Every time I bring up CoComelon, Claire wants to strangle me.
Oh, really?
Because I think she babysat a kid who
was a CoComelon kid.
CoComelon kid. Yeah.
Oh no. See, I grew up watching Tom and Jerry, so I just watched this cat and this mouse beat the shit out of each other all the time.
I'd probably avoid that one too.
Oh. And it had some questionable racial stereotypes of.
That's true.
Tom's owner sometimes.
Interesting, yeah. How old is Tom and Jerry? That's an old-ass cartoon.
It is an old-ass cartoon. 50s, 60s, I think.
That's wild.
Or maybe 60s or so. Yeah.
We are going to be alive, hopefully, if all goes well. But Tom and Jerry will be 100 years old at some point in our lifetime.
I feel like it was such a huge part of my childhood, which is so strange that it was so old. Looney Tunes. Fucking love Looney Tunes. Again, people just beating the shit out of each other for fun. Mm-hmm. I think you have to let your kid have a little violence as a treat.
I guess.
I'm kind of kidding, but I'm kind of not.
Give those little gamers some violence.
When you see Tom from Tom and Jerry get hit in the face with a frying pan, and then his face is stuck in the shape of the frying pan, that's fucking hilarious. It's comedy. It's peak comedy. You have to let them have that. Let them have that.
Yeah, at some point, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Or when Jerry eats a piece of cheese that's too big, and then he turns into the little triangle cheese shape.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's true. And also, how are they going to understand all these memes if they don't partake?
Right? How are they? They're not going to. You need to let them be a little cultured.
Yeah,
they have to be cultured.
Got to let them be a little cultured.
Right. And let them watch Bugs Bunny do cross-dressing, I think. I think that's good. I think that builds character. It built character for me, certainly.
Certainly. It's how I turned out the way I did.
Yes.
Speaking of how old stuff is, at work, we were discussing the Three Stooges and how old that is. I was like, the Three Stooges was a thing in the 30s?
That was the 30s?
That was the 30s? And then one of my coworkers pointed out that I think Mo was born in the 1800s. He's born in 1890.
Wow. He was an old 90s kid.
Yeah. The first gen 90s kid.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure that Mo's birth is closer to the Revolutionary War than today.
That's nuts. That's nutty. You're right, though, I think.
I think it was 19 or 1790s or something. I don't know my own freaking history. What do you expect from me? Yeah. All right. Mo probably fought in the Civil War.
I don't think... I thought the Civil War... Was that before 1890s? I don't remember.
I have no idea.
Is it 1880?
Time begins with the Roaring 20s in my mind.
Yes. That's when Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden. And
exactly. And then we went to the
else.
Depression.
And then we went to the Depression.
Yep.
And then the World Wars or something. And now we're here. Jesus Christ was in there somewhere.
All right. What were we talking about? The adaptation of Pac-Man. I like it. Yes. Moving on.
Okay.
All right. The level title cards. Big fan. Very simple. Looking back, I felt like there was some papyrus font going on there. It was a bit wonky, but nostalgic nonetheless. Mm-hmm. Favorite level theme. I think we kind of discussed this.
I like the tweez.
The tweez. I'm a big fan of the Twilight tweez. Those are good. Least favorite, water. For sure. How do you feel about the characters? We've already talked about like the pack people, but like, how about the enemies? I feel like they're a little all over the place to some extent. I don't know if you saw some of the later enemies, like spiders and skeletons, and yeah.
Yeah, I did like the cute little round animals though. I thought it was cute where it's like, oh, everything is round here.
Yeah, like the pack cubs, the pack bears, the little rams.
The little goat, rams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I liked those. What I didn't like so much was the spiders. Those were a little weird. I remember
having a hard time killing them.
Mm-hmm. I loved the Neanderthals, or the Neander packs, and how they were squares. Like, they weren't evolved enough to be like circles.
I guess the sphere is the evolved form of a square or a cube then? Yeah. Okay. Interesting take.
Yeah. I thought those were funny. Yeah. Some of the other creatures were just a little weird. The spiders particularly were like, why is there just a real ass spider in this game?
I know. Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah. That one was strange. I like how the ghosts look. The ghosts look nice, easy adaptation, just floating around with little hands. It'd be funny if they had feet, but I'm glad they don't.
Yeah.
Also, lastly, the music do be slapping. I don't know if you were bopping along with some of these tunes.
I don't think I had it turned up loud enough to like hear it, unfortunately.
A lot of like the early music is just like, oh, it's just real good. Like it's genuinely solid. Again, genuinely solid. Maybe hard for me to give an objective opinion on this because I hear those tunes and I am 7 years old again, but I like them a lot. And from what I could tell, the reviews seem to echo that statement. So I'm going to say objectively good. And with that, I'm ready to move on to recommendations.
Alrighty, let's do it.
All right, Morgan. You can play this game. You can play Pac-Man World 2 on the PS2. OPL is a bit iffy, so if you're doing it digitally, that might be a pain point. You can play it through GameCube, which I may prefer based off the GameCube controller. I feel like that it just works better for platformers. I like it a lot. Xbox, I think, is the best version. It has like widescreen support, I believe. And probably can run at like 480p or something if I had to guess. There's apparently a Windows version. I have no idea what that even means. And there was a GBA port, I was told, from a little website called Wikipedia. But I didn't look into that. I assume it's not good. Anyway, do we recommend this game? Me personally, I'm going to give it a soft recommendation. I feel like it's a fairly decent platformer. There's better platformers and there are worse platformers.
Yes. Yeah, I would say if you are like passionate about platformers or like interested in platformers, then yes, I would say this is like worth your time. If platformers aren't really your, like if you're like not really into Pac-Man, not really into platformers, then no. Yeah, it's not groundbreaking, but it's not
I hate
bad.
Pac-Man and I hate platformers, but I decided to give this game a shot.
And I wanted to pull my teeth out.
Yeah. We come down middling on this game, I guess. Yes. I enjoy it from the nostalgia aspect a lot. There's certain levels. I think if it's a nostalgia thing for you, just revisit those levels. You know, don't worry about the Pac Marine levels.
Yeah.
Just revisit those levels and have a good time. Blade Mountain, just hop in, run down Blade Mountain. That's all you need. Mm-hmm. Does this game need a remake? Personally, I would love to see this game get a remake, and it's like almost possible because Pac-Man World Repack. I'd be curious to see how that game sold because that's probably going to be the best indicator as to whether or not a sequel remake is likely. I don't know. I'd be surprised if they took it all the way to Pac-Man World 3, because that game is a little weird, but I would like to get 2. I don't know if you have any horse in this race, but...
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if this one was the best one of the 3, then why not?
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I have not played 1, and I know people like 1, but as far as I am aware, people like 2 the best, based off my perception. Okay. So, yeah, I'd like to see it, but we'll see if that's ever going to happen. What do I want next for the series? I personally like Pac-Man as a 3D platformer. Would not mind Bandai Namco revisiting this with a new entry in the Pac-Man world. I don't know, just Pac-Man World 4. Why not? I don't know. Could be fun. I don't know if you care.
I'm thinking about not Pac-Man World, but Pac-Man the arcade game. What if they got freaky with it like they did with Tetris Effect somehow?
Interesting you say this. There are some games that are kind of freaky with Pac-Man.
Oh, really?
Yes. There's some that have like some crazy effects going on. I think it's like Pac-Man World Championship Edition or something like that. They get wild.
Also, Pac-Man Battle Royale.
That was a thing.
That was a thing?
That was a thing.
That's hilarious.
Pac-Man 99, I think, is what it was called.
Oh, really? Okay. I was wondering if that was a thing, because I know about Tetris 99, right?
Mm-hmm. It shut down.
Oh.
It's like Tetris 99.
Okay.
So it's like just a bunch of games of Pac-Man being played simultaneously, and the better you do, the more you can fuck with other people. Like throw ghosts in their levels or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was saying take a whole bunch of Pac-Man and put
just
them
in the
all
same one, so you can get the most
same
pellets.
maze.
Yeah, be fun. There are some games where it's like, I think you get to play as the ghost. There's just a lot of like takes on Pac-Man that are fun. I think there's a Wii U game where I think it's more just like hide and seek, but the person with the gamepad is the one hiding, and then everyone who has like a remote and is controlling something on the TV is trying to find the person with the gamepad who's hiding.
Would you call that a stealth game?
That would probably be a stealth game. I would call that one a stealth game.
Okay.
That probably meets the criteria.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see something interesting with Pac-Man. I mean, he's Pac-Man. He's like the George Washington of video games.
Did I ever tell you that when I was like 3, I thought George Washington invented the entire English language?
Really? I mean,
yeah.
Is that false?
I thought he like sat in the Oval Office and came up with each English word one at a time. Like each one hit him like an epiphany, and he had to like scramble to write it down so the rest of us could like talk to each other.
Now, I'm not a linguist, but I would be curious. I was thinking about this recently. So we have some languages, and a lot of them are very similar. You know what I mean? But a lot of them are very different.
Yeah.
Like language developed independently in some places.
Yes.
So like we came over here, Native Americans were speaking their own language. Stuff like that. Are like Asian languages based off of like a different starting point than like European languages?
Ours? Yeah, so most European languages are Latin based.
Okay.
So that would be because of the Roman Empire and because of that influence at that time. As far as like Chinese and Japanese, I think they might both be from a similar like root language, but because Japan was like isolated for a long period of time on, you know, their like island situation, they're very different. Right. I'm sorry if my dog is barking in the background.
The baby is making some noise.
The baby is causing a ruckus.
That'd be I don't know. Yeah, interesting. Language. What crazy. All right. Next game. Run and hide, bitches. We're playing Naruto Uzumaki Chronicles.
Get ready for multiple hours of Naruto.
We're going to hold y'all hostage. All right. We decided we hadn't played any really random games. Is someone in the room?
I'm sorry. Do I need to go check? Let me go check and see what's bothering her. Sorry.
I'm just going to end the episode.
Gosh.
Oh. Morgan. I've lost Morgan. That's okay. It's the end of the episode. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please support the podcast by leaving a review or rating on whatever platform you like to listen on. Subscribe or follow to stay up to date with what we're playing. Share the show with a friend who loves this generation of games. That was a little bit awkward, but I got through it. You'd think I'd have it memorized by this point. I've done 22 of these goddamn things, but whatever. Also, write in with any questions or feedback to analogschtickmail@gmail.com. Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Came back literally at the last possible moment.